Hello everybody, Dark Zekrom here. You can call me Jason, and we're back on Tier Mania for yet another video. I believe this is going to be my first solo video of the channel, and I'm very excited to talk to you guys about one of my favorite games of all time, Monster Sanctuary. Now, as you can tell by the title and the thumbnail, we are going to be ranking all of the different areas of Monster Sanctuary, so like the different levels in a sense. But before we get into the full ranking, I want to go ahead and explain a little bit what Monster Sanctuary is. I personally think it is a hidden gem of a game. It is an indie title. It is a Metroidvania creature collector. So a 2D exploration-based platformer with creature collecting elements a la Pokemon. There's turn-based, combo-based battles, where each turn you try to set up as much combo as you can to do as much damage as you can. And the creatures you collect act as your exploration abilities in order to explore new parts of the world you might not have gotten to earlier, like being able to fly a little higher after you jump, being able to swim underwater, pushing boulders, opening switches, all kinds of various different little platforming-based and exploration-based abilities. It's really fun. It is a beautiful game. The art is gorgeous. The soundtrack is phenomenal. The gameplay loop is rewarding. It is really, truly an amazing game, and I highly recommend you guys play it. Before we get into things, this video is going to contain some spoilers for the game. There's some end-game areas I'm going to be going over and some post-game stuff that I'm going to be talking about and some story things. So if you don't want to be spoiled and the game sounds interesting or looks interesting to you, I highly recommend you go ahead and go play it, and then come back and watch this video after you're done. You might appreciate it even more so as well. If you don't feel like playing it, but you are interested, I do have my entire first playthrough up on Twitch. If you go ahead and go to the description, my Twitch channel is linked down below. And you can see, I think it's 10 videos long, all my experience through playing through this game for the first time. But to get into it, let's go ahead and go over how I'm going to be ranking these areas, what are the criteria I'm going through, and we'll get straight into it. So I'm going to be ranking them based on the monsters available, based on the soundtrack, and based on the platforming slash kind of puzzles in the level. So we're going over the monsters available, the soundtrack, and the platforming puzzles that are inside the area as a whole. Again, this is all my opinion, completely opinion based. You might think one area is your best and it's my least favorite, or vice versa. And let's go ahead and jump straight into it. So the very first area you get into is actually the first area you see even on the title screen. It is the first area you're thrown into right away. Your little cutscene when you start the game shows this area off, and it is the mountain path right here. Mountain path is really cool. It's very much a beginner area. It's very much got really easy platforming because it has to. It's the beginning area. You have like no abilities yet. You have no extra stuff, no double jump, nothing. It's just the base area. But the monsters here are really cool. It's very like early route monster designs and kind of concepts, but they're all very useful in their own right. You've got Blob, who is a really good early game debuffer. Can put armor break on a lot of enemies. It has a couple shielding and healing abilities as well. Really good combo starter as well. Very strong. Magma Pillar is good for fire damage. Rocky's nice shielder support. Vero is a really hard hitter. Katzerka's a hard hitter. Yowie's kind of interesting because he's got a ton of health and support your team really well. And you've got the hidden one of Manticorb, who I used very much on my playthrough when I found it. Manticorb is just like an all-out, this thing will set up your combos, give you all the hits you could possibly imagine, and it has like one of every element, I think, besides Earth. It is very good. Very, very good. The difficulty of the area and the puzzles, again, it's really basic. It has to be. There's a couple little fun hidden areas, especially from like way later in the game. You can get some abilities that let you come back and explore a little more, and those are cool when you find those. But the two bosses, the two champion battles, Steam Golem and Monk, they're pretty straightforward for early game. If you know what you're doing, they're not too much of a fight. They're pretty easy. So overall, I'd say that's all. It's all kind of expected. So right now, it's very, very middle of the road, very expected for an early game area. The soundtrack is really good too. It's very like adventure is starting. You're in the beginning area. You're in the beginning round of an RPG, and it's very beginning is kind of the overarching theme of the mountain path. So with all that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and put it. I think I want to put it in B. because I can't put it in like anything lower than B, because it is the beginning area. It's what introduces you to the game. It's what introduces you to your base monsters you're going to be using for a while. It introduces you to the ideas of the game, the concepts of the game. So it's very fun. It's also it's like very much that. It's the beginning area, and it's fun though. It's a good location. I do like it. So next up, we're going to kind of going through these in somewhat of a story order. Things might be off a little here and there, but kind of where the game pushes you, because you can explore pretty openly, but where the game pushes you to go is how we're going to be going through these in order. So next up, you get access to the Keeper's Stronghold and the Keeper's Tower. The Keeper's Tower is part of the Stronghold and is connected to the tower, or to the Stronghold, and I kind of consider it a bit of like a sub area, although it is its own area on the map. This is like your hub world. This is like where you go to buy armor, not armor, you buy food, you buy, you can buy, not armor, items to help your monsters, weapons, accessories, food, potions, upgrade your armor here. I keep saying armor. Upgrade your materials here and your items. So it's pretty cool. The music's okay. You can change the different songs on the game to different versions of the music, and I think I have mine on the second or third option for the Stronghold. All of the songs are okay. They're all very strongholdy. There's no monsters here, so it's kind of like, it's tier of its own. It's just the Stronghold. It's the hub area, So it's all right. I'm gonna have to put it in C tier because it's not really meant to be anything, right? It's meant to be kind of its own thing, because it's the hub world, it's the hub area. The music's okay. If the music was really good, it would be going up a tier. So I kind of just put it in C because it's not meant to really be an area that you do all the rest of the game stuff in. It's meant to be kind of the hub area. The Keeper's Tower is a little different because this contains all of the like battling elements of the game other than like basic combat or the story combat. This has like the PvP battles, the Infinity Arena, the Keeper Tamer battles. I believe that's all of it. I might be missing. Oh, the champion. You can rebattle the champions that you find in this area. The music's good too. I think it has a separate song. I could be mistaken. I think it has a separate song, but I have mine switched, so it's not playing a separate song in my playthroughs, I don't think. But it's the stuff you can do in the arena, in the tower, is really cool. The Infinity Arena is really fun. PvP battles are really fun. Doing the Tamer challenges, 5-starring all the champions at their different levels is a really good time. You have to do a couple things in the tower in order to get the achievements in the game if you're playing on Steam. Like the Infinity Arena and the champion battles. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in C tier above the Keeper Stronghold because I like it better because there's more things to do. There's like the champion battles and stuff. Really, it kind of helps it out. Again, I can't really rank it fully higher or lower because it's not really meant to be that kind of area, So we're gonna go ahead and move on from those, and we're gonna go ahead and into the Blue Caves. The Blue Caves are interesting. This is the first area that you get to see a champion that you previously fought in the wild and get it if you didn't get it via the champion battles, that being Monk. Monk is able to be found wild in this area, but you've got like Grummy, Tengu, Fungi, Frosty, then you've got the other champions of Minotaur, Spectre, and in the DLC, you now have Ascendant. This area is really cool because you get the double jump boots here. It allows you, the double jump boots basically unlock the rest of the game. It feels like you're not really playing the full game until you get the double jump boots because you're able to mess up on a jump. You can try to fix it. It opens up new areas in the mountain path as well as allows you to get to new areas in the forward areas. So it's a really fun cave environment as well. The monsters here are really cool. Grummy is really good. Grummy is a really good combo starter, especially if you evolve it, which we'll get to soon. Tengus can be dangerous. Monks can be really strong. I used a monk for a long time in my first playthrough, and it was really cool having all of the different elements that you're able to have with it. It's like a physical Manticore kind of in a sense with the elements that it has. Frosty's a really good support. Getting a Frosty is really strong. It has a really good support tree and can really buff your monsters up, and I do really enjoy using Frosty as well. It does have one of my favorite monsters in here as well as a champion, Spectre. I love Spectre's animations. He's so funny. He is such a goober. So if you do end up playing this game, keep an eye out for Spectre because he's hilarious. He is so funny. As well as Minotaur. I really like Minotaurs just as like creatures. My first ever D&D character was a Minotaur with 25 strength. And he had an axe, and like that was like kind of his thing as well. So Minotaur kind of speaks to me in that sense. So I do enjoy the Blue Caves. The puzzles are really fun. I really like the level design. There's really good game design because you find the double jump boots, and then the game pushes you to go into a room after you find the double jump boots that you can only finish using the double jump boots. So it's kind of like, hey, you're getting the boots. Now you remember that room you went to, or if you didn't see it, you can go to this room now. You have to use the double jump boots, and it lets you get used to their mechanic. Really cool. Really, really like them. The soundtrack is very cavey. I think they did a fantastic job. Some of the instruments have a little reverb on them, or kind of, you know, they add like a little echo to them to kind of make them feel a little more cavey. It feels very cavey while also feeling very fun. It's nice. It's really good. I'm gonna go ahead and put this above Mountain Path. I think I prefer it a little more than Mountain Path. Not my favorite location in the game, but it is fun, and I do enjoy being in here. It can be a little mazy sometimes though, but it is a good time. I do enjoy the Mountain Path. So, after Mountain Path, we have Stronghold Dungeon. The dungeon's where things start getting a little more difficult, at least when I was playing through. I was struggling a little bit here in the Stronghold Dungeon. I did not have it as easy of a time playing through here. Some of the monsters hit really hard in here, and if you don't have the right weakness, if you don't have the right strengths against them, they can be a bit of a difficult fight. Specifically Mad Eyes, if you don't have any magic, or at least like weak magic, they are tough to fight, and they just debuff the hell out of you. I remember my first playthrough, I didn't have much magic, or at least I wasn't really paying attention to that, and every time I fought a Mad Eye, I was struggling. So take my advice, use magic on Mad Eyes. So this, I like to think this is kind of where the game turns its difficulty up just a notch. It's not much harder, but things get a little harder. Other than the tamer fight you have to do to get into this area, this has your first tamer fight in it. After Will, you have to fight one of the alchemists, and that can be very difficult if you're not prepared for it. It is a really, really enjoyable area though. The soundtrack feels like the dungeon. Like I don't know how to describe it other than it feels like I'm in kind of like the dungeon area. Very, very eerie in a sense. It's very good. You can find Grummies again. A new monster, Crackle Knight's really cool. I really like Crackle Knight. Grulu, which is the evolution of Grummy, who is like, talk about Grummy being able to set stuff up. Grulu, if you get him leveled up and use him later in late game, this man can set up like crazy combo levels for you just right from the bat. Like the first monster you use being Grulu, you'll get like 16, 17 combos just right away. Really cool. Mad Eye also can do something similar. He has a really good debuff strategy with some of his shifts and is really strong. Nightwing, I never personally used Nightwing. He's a little too frail for me, but he does have some interesting ideas with like lifesteal and sharing kind of the lifesteal with the party. Toxicus is kind of just like specifically poison and armor break Mad Eye. It's okay. I don't really like its design either. But then you've got Beatloid as the only champion fight. The real like champion / boss battle is the alchemist in this area. And then you have later in the game Azarak, who I struggled with, and then I made a team of goblins, and then I beat him instantly. So he's not too bad once you finally get to him. But overall, Stronghold Dungeon's really cool. I really enjoy it. The puzzles are engaging. There's a lot of backtracking and hidden areas that require, like, you know, monsters that allow you to illuminate certain areas and stuff. And the water puzzles can be a little frustrating because the water's kind of slow to move around, but it's a fun area. I do enjoy the Stronghold Dungeon. It's got Crackle Knight in it, Grulu in it, Mad Eye, who are all very exciting monsters to find. I'm gonna put this in A. I actually really enjoy the Stronghold Dungeon. I look forward to being in there a lot whenever I do replays of my different playthroughs. I enjoy the Stronghold Dungeon. I look forward to it. It's a good time. I definitely like it. Next up, we have the Ancient Woods. And the Ancient Woods is one of the most relaxing locations on its surface. On its surface. We'll get to that in a second. The music here is exactly what you would think. Just if you think of like just think of an ancient wood area, what the soundtrack would sound like. The Ocarina of Time comes to mind a little bit. Some of the kind of some of the similar elements there. It's a very basic song in the sense of there's not much instrumentation. It's a couple different percussion instruments, and a couple different little melodies, and I think there's a flute in it if I'm not mistaken. It's really quaint, really serene, really quiet, very nice. And the monsters here are kind of scary, but really fit the environment well. The puzzles are engaging as well. If we're talking about engaging puzzles, this is a really, really engaging area. There's like a whole laser beam puzzle you have to do to get through. And that, as much as it's frustrating, is fun. I like being able to figure it out and going through the different areas. There's a couple hidden spots. If you go back with a monster that can light an area up, you can find a couple hidden areas that kind of lead to what I was talking about, some scary stuff inside. There's a completely dark area, and I went in with I think it was Nightwing. I think Nightwing gives you the dark vision where it's just everything's red rather than like Glowfly lighting up a certain area around you. Everything in the room is red. The room just looks red if it's dark. And I ran into the trolls in complete pitch black redness, and it was terrifying when I got jump scared when I first entered. I was doing it off stream. I got jump scared when I first entered, and then if you keep going a little further, you find my least favorite monster in the game, the Argiope. I don't know how it's pronounced. I say Argiope. I hate the way they look. Their pixel art is fantastic, but their journal art scares me. They creep me out. They're like weird steel spider fly ants. I hate them. I get the chills whenever I think about it. But it does have one of my favorite champions in the game being Brutus. I love Brutus because, if you don't know me, monkeys are my favorite animals, Brutus and primates in general. Brutus is just a big gorilla with ram horns. It's so cool. He's a really cool design, and he hits like a truck. That's his whole motive is just, I'm gonna hit things harder than I've ever hit anything before. So Brutus is really cool. This is also where you get access to evolution and name changing, which is really cool. Once you enter the Ancient Woods, you can find the Tree of Evolution and actually start evolving your monsters that you've seen previously, like your Grummies into Grulus, or Glowflies, eventually into Glowdras, and stuff like that. Magma Pillars into Magma Moths, which you do actually see Magma Moths here. And this is also where you find the goblins, and the goblins are so fun. You can't hate the goblins. They're cute little dudes. They're gobbing out. You love them. I love them. Goblins are great. So, where is the Ancient Woods going? It's going in A tier, above the dungeon. It has to. It's so fun. It is such a rewarding experience. Such a wonderful place. Absolutely love the Ancient Woods. Definitely one of my favorite places to go in this game. Next up, I'm just going to say it outright. My favorite location in the game, Snowy Peaks. Well, second favorite location in the game, Snowy Peaks. Snowy Peaks is so good. The exploration, the platforming, the monsters, the soundtrack, it's phenomenal. It is a snowy area, so it's got the snow elements of magical sounding, not necessarily Christmassy, but like snowy, cold sounding soundtrack. That's the best way I can describe it. And the monsters you find here are fun. They're so like cool and well designed and really just engaging designs. Got Yowie, Ice Blob, Armtail, Mogwai, Megatar, the evolution of Minitar, who I wish he still had his axe. Aklut is a really fun champion to fight. The Dracozool fight is really difficult to try to 5-star. And one of my also favorite monsters, Targoat. I think Targoat is an extremely well-designed monster. If I'm not mistaken, was a fan-submitted design. I believe Targoat was a fan-submitted design. Won one of the competitions they were doing when the game was in development. And I just absolutely adore all of these monsters. Karaglow, Crystal Snail, really well-designed area. Not to mention, you've got the couple little houses. You've got the one house where you get the warm underwear and the the warm underwear. You get a shard of winter I think you get a Shard of Winter for the carrot. I'm blanking on what she gives you second. But third, you get my favorite outfit in the game, which is the snow outfit. You wear the little snow parka, the hood, and I wear the green one personally. It looks really comfy and cozy. Once I unlocked that, I wore it for like the rest of the playthrough. It is a fantastic area. I absolutely love it. That's why it's going in S tier. Again, my favorite location, one of my favorite locations in the entire game. Phenomenal platforming, beautiful scenery, a mix of like a bunch of different little puzzles, and the monsters here are so cool. I love Snowy Peaks so much. Then we get to, I think, one of the most involved locations in the game, and what I mean by that, the area that you probably spend most of your, compared to all the other areas, you probably spend the most time in here, and that's the Sun Palace, because the puzzles vary like back and forth and really what's the word? So it's a lot of back and forth and really makes you navigate a bunch of different little mazes, and there's a bunch of timed sequences and stuff. So I think you spend most of your time in here, if I'm being honest, out of all the areas. So Sun Palace is really fun. Its soundtrack fits it perfectly. Its scenery is gorgeous. It's this like ancient city within the sanctuary, and has just like cherry blossom trees in the background and giant old ancient engraved pillars and this giant tower that you have to build out of the ground using the aqueducts. Really well designed area. The platforming's really different compared to a lot of them. It's a lot of going through water, backtracking through the same areas, but now there's no water because you have to lower the water, so you use different monsters. It's really cool. I really enjoy it. The soundtrack is I think my third favorite song in the game. It's really good. The monsters here are cool. Very cool monsters. You get Blade Widow here, Ninki Nanka, Vasuki, Kame, Psycho Phantom, and Mori. And then Killin, Konko, and Diavola are some of the best champions, I think, in the game. They're really fun to fight. They're difficult. So they're fun to fight in the sense that they really require you to think and team build. Konko's design is really fun. Really like Konko's design. Killin's a really cool design as well. And Diavola, I love Venus flytraps. They're my favorite plant. I know that's kind of like a weird thing to have a favorite plant, but I love Venus flytraps. So having a Venus flytrap monster is just so cool. Everything here just feels so inspired. I really love the Sun Palace. The soundtrack is just phenomenal. Such a good song. So with all that being said, it is going in S tier under Snowy Peaks because I prefer Snowy Peaks more. But it is a fantastic area. It is truly so fun, and I highly recommend just chilling in the Sun Palace if you ever need to relax. It's super cool. So from the Sun Palace, you actually cannot enter this area until you beat the Sun Palace, and that is Horizon Beach, of course. Every game needs some kind of beach area, some kind of snow area, you know, or not some kind of snow area in the sense that Horizon Beach is a snow area, but you got your snow area with Snowy Peaks and your beach area. Every game has like a beach underwater, snow, and also a snowy area. So this is the parallel here, and it is really cool. I don't quite enjoy the puzzles as much here because they're all water-based, and the water movement in this game doesn't feel as good and as tight as just the regular platforming. Just my opinion. It's a little slow even with a swimming monster. It's a little slow, and with a swimming monster it doesn't get as fast as I would like it. If we could get a monster that works similar to the way Blob works, which we'll get to Blob much later, in the sense that he can just run through Tar normally without any movement speed penalties for the water, that'd be really cool. So I think because of that, it kind of lowers my opinion of this a little bit. There is the non-underwater part, the giant, like, really tall cliff section with a lot of kind of like hidden paths you have to jump through. They don't look like you can jump through them, but you can, or you can fall through them. So that area is nice. I enjoy the platforming there. But the puzzles are all water-based. There's not much platforming in this area other than over in that cave section, cliff section, rather. The monsters here, though, are really cool. I really enjoy all of the designs. I think they're all really fun. You start getting some dinosaur and kind of extinct monster designs here. You got, you know, Veiro's back, Toxicus back. Then you got Koi, who you actually get Koi. That's how you get to the Horizon Beach. Dodo, who I love Dodo's design. I love how supportive Dodo is as well. Really good support monster. Gives you a lot of sidekick buffs with Joust and stuff. Kangamato is really fun. I love the pterodactyl design. UCAN I've actually been using in a separate playthrough off stream, where I've been using UCAN as like a support. He's meant to be more of like a damage dealer, but I've been using him as kind of like a magic-based support. It's weird, but I really like UCAN. He's a cool crab. You got Brawlish, you got Thornish, Nautilid, Silveiro, and then the two champions. The one you really fight is Eldergel, and then the post-game Vodanoy. Vodanoy is tough, very tough. Eldergel is a really cool design, and I really like its kind of how it created. It's kind of the way they hint at the lore with Eldergel. If you read the Monster Journal, is that it is kind of an eldritch being in a sense, and created the Nautilids as its you know, minions basically. So it's really fun. I really like the Eldergel a lot. It's a cool monster. With all that being said, I didn't touch on the soundtrack yet. The soundtrack here is really good. I enjoy it. It's very beachy, very fun, very like high energy, while also being very appropriate for the area. I do have to say though, because of the water, it really brings this down for me, and I have to put it in C. The water's fun. It's cool. Every game needs a water level, but I find myself just like jamming my joystick super hard into the controller, because it feels like I should be moving faster, or I want to move faster, and it feels really slow. And that's my only really gripe. The platforming is just not that fun, so it brings this area down to a C for me, really. And it's hard to say that, because it's a really fun area with a lot of cool monsters. I don't have the best time exploring the area, and that's kind of what the whole game's about, is the exploration, you know? So it has to go in C. It does go above the Keeper Stronghold and Keeper Tower, so if that means anything. So next up we have the Magma Chamber, which you actually can't get to until you get a riding monster, so you can either get one from Snowy Peaks or Horizon Beach. Well, actually there's another way you can get to it, via the Ancient Woods, but the traditional like entrance is used with a riding monster. Magma Chamber's great. I love the Magma Chamber. It's probably the area you spend the next most amount of time in, next to the Sun Palace. There's all kinds of really fun exploration in here. It's a really enjoyable experience, being able to just kind of go through all the different areas, and the parallel, once you drain the lava, between the top like kind of mining area with like the wood supports to hold the caves up, and then the fiery underbelly of the Magma Chamber is really cool. I like that Will gets to come back in the story, and he kind of helps you out a little bit, and he's fun to have back. And the monsters here, I would say this is another area where the difficulty goes up a notch a little bit. Some of the monsters here are fairly hard to beat. At least I struggled with them. Maybe it was just my team comp. But you get the really cool fire-based monsters and dragon monsters here. So you get Glowfly, which you can evolve into Glowdra, and Glowdra's really fun to use. This thing hits like a truck. Glowdra hits so hard, but it's really cool to use. Goblin Miner, yet another goblin, always good to have more of them. Salahammer, who I used on my team, really good at setting up combos. Lava Blob, gotta have more blobs, can't not have a Lava Blob. And then you get the kind of Eevee of the game with Drakenov. Drakenov is really cool, because I used one as a support. He was a really good support monster, and was really fun to use, and you can find one of its evolutions, Dracogran, in here as well. You get two champions, one is post-game, one is the main game. Asura, who is tough. I struggled with Asura. Asura is not the easiest monster to beat, I will tell you. Especially when it's a champion, because it gets all the buffs that champions get. And this thing will steal your buffs, it'll hit you hard. It's tough. Asura is a tough monster to fight. And then one of my favorite champions, I think probably my favorite champion, Griffinix. I love Griffins, and it's a Phoenix, which is really cool. It's also a tough fight, but once you do end up getting it, it's really fun. It also is it's also the best ride monster in the game, because it allows you to jump better and higher and farther. So we love Griffinix. But the Magma Chamber is really cool. The platforming's fun. The puzzles are engaging. There's a lot of little tight corridors, so there's like mini platforming to get over monsters if you don't want to encounter them. It's a really cool area. I really enjoy it. with all that, well, actually, I didn't get to talk about the soundtrack. I forgot to talk about the soundtrack. The soundtrack is cool. It's very magma-y. It's very like hellish in a way, but in a good way. It's super like bassy and like comes in really hard and really like keeps you like wanting to explore the area. Really cool. I enjoy Magma Chamber a lot. With all that being said, though, I am gonna go ahead and put it, I think, here. I think it's gonna go in between these two and A. I don't think I like it as much as Ancient Woods, but I do like it more than the Stronghold or the Dungeon, and I like it more than all these other ones. But I don't like it more than these three. So I think that's a good spot for it. It's a really fun and engaging area, and I do quite enjoy it a lot. Okay, next up, after that, is the Underworld. The Underworld, I'm going to go ahead and talk about its soundtrack first. The Underworld soundtrack just provides you with a really strong sense of dread. Like, I don't know how to describe it other than it sounds like you're in the Underworld. It sounds like you're in like this desolate, abandoned area with like these eldritch horrors and terrible beings, and it just sounds like it's meant to be this like hellscape. And they did a really good job with the soundtrack. I think they did a great job with it. It just really fills you with like a, man, I shouldn't be here and I don't want to be here kind of feeling. All the monsters here, there's not the most variety. I think it might be one of the least variable areas for monster encounters in the game. But I keep talking about where the game levels up its difficulty. This area, it really bumps it up. I would say instead of 1, it'd go up 2 or 3. I really struggled with some of the fights in this area. Especially against there's like an area in the top with 3 Prometheans, and they just obliterate you because they just constantly charge and just hit you like crazy. Marcus is annoying. It debuffs you like crazy, throws a bunch of weakness on you, and just really just does not want to die because it's only weak to neutral attacks. It is, I do not enjoy fighting Marcus. Raklich just murders you because it hits so hard. And then Argiope's back. Ew. Do I need to say more? It's Argiope. It does have a couple redeeming factors. You've got Mega Rock. Mega Rock is adorable. All my homies love Mega Rock. Mega Rock is Rocky's evolution, who comes in way later in the game, and you're like, whoa! Rocky evolves! I thought for the longest time Rocky was going to evolve into Druid Oak, or just didn't have one. And sure enough, there he is, Mega Rock. You gotta love him. Then you got Draco Noir and Spinner. And Draco Noir's design is another one of the evolutions of Draconov. Really well designed dragon. Really like the idea of it being like kind of Draco Noir. It's kind of black and white with like the noir feel, while also being kind of like a Chinese dragon almost, like a serpent. Really well designed. I really enjoy Draco Noir's design. But then you have Spinner. Spinner is a really cool champion because he kind of is like an antagonist, a side antagonist of the area, where he kind of tricks you and makes you chase him, and you have to close up the areas to actually fight him, otherwise he keeps running. And he's a doppelganger. You'll see his design if you play the game. He looks like the character. He looks like the player character when you first find him, but he's got like really weird wiggly legs, and his like arm, he like looks, he's like off. Something's off about him and you're not sure. And then when you fight him, he sprouts into these like bunch of arms, and it's really creepy looking monster. It's really cool. I really like it. The puzzles and platforming, though, are a bit of a struggle. I really, like, as much as the area is cool, some of the puzzles, it's really confusing. There's a lot of backtracking that doesn't feel very engaging. Like, there's backtracking in the game for sure, but in this one, it's like, oh, I messed up this one puzzle. I can't get through here. I now have to go through like 4 or 5 rooms to get back to the lever to activate this one thing, and then I can go through. It's just, I'm not a big fan of it. And if I'm being honest, as much as I love the design, as much as I love the area, and as much as it has some really cool fights in it, and some really awesome monsters, it's gonna be our first D tier. I don't quite enjoy the Underworld as much as a lot of these other areas. It's you guys might like it, but I'm really not the biggest fan of it. And no hate towards the developers or anything, or the designers. I think the monsters here are really cool. I just really struggled with this area, and I didn't enjoy the platforming and puzzles as much as some of the other ones. So hey, that's how the cookie crumbles sometimes. But we're gonna jump into yet another really fun area, and that's the Mystical Workshop. This place is so cool. I really like kind of like mechanical object kind of like ancient working designs. I don't know what it is about like that kind of like creature design, like the Dragon Quest golems. I love Staccatica or Stackataka from Pokemon. I love its design, and just like mechanical like mimics, like things like that. I love those kinds of designs. And the Mystical Workshop's got a fantastic soundtrack. It sounds very fitting of the workshop. It's really cool. This area kind of, it feels like it's an anomaly in the Sanctuary. It feels like the construct area. It's like this old ancient magic working mechanism, kind of like you're in a clock almost, like this never-ending giant clock. It's really cool. I really enjoy this area a lot. It's got the Steam Golem, who is yet another boss champion that you fight earlier, which is really cool. Salahammer's here to kind of fill in a little bit. Stolby, I didn't like it first, but the more I've seen it, the better I like it. It's a really cool kind of ghost owl flamingo. That's the best way to describe it. And then when I saw the Ornithopter, let me tell you, I loved it. Based off of Da Vinci's flying creations and flying machine designs, it is a perpetual flying motion. If you read its lore, it just kind of has a thing in it that just flies like this and has like a spell where if you try to break into the thing, it shatters and like disintegrates. It's really, really well designed. I love Ornithopter. So fun. Polterofen. I hate fighting Polterofens. I think its design is so cool. I love the old stovetop look. Its shift colors are really nice. But my god, fighting these things is obnoxious because they hit so hard. It is so dangerous to fight these Polterofens because of their shield burst. Or not shield burst, volatile shield skill. They just like get shields, like a ton of it, and then at the end of their turn, they just smack you as hard as they can with this extra shield attack. Absolutely crazy. The Oculus, the little spider robo nanobots are really cool. Love them. And love the Mimic. The Mimic is so cool. It tricks you. I'm not gonna say too much how, but I when I saw the Mimic, I was like, yo, it's the Mimic! Every game has to have a Mimic. And it's really well designed. I love this place. Then you have to fight Goblin Pilot and Vertrog. Like both two really cool, really cool champions. And you have Goblin Pilots, yet another Goblin. A Goblin that sneaks up on you. You don't expect this Goblin. You think you're done. After you see Goblin Miner, you're like, oh cool, there's all the Goblins. Nope. There's one more, and he's riding a mech. He's really cool. So with all that being said, where do you think I'm going to put this? S tier? Unfortunately, no. I'm actually going to be putting it in A tier. It is very fun. It is very enjoyable, but there's there's not as much puzzle in here as I would really like. There's a couple different puzzles, like a push block puzzle that's really fun. And there's a lot of like high jumps, a lot of really high jumps that require better flight, the better levitation, or just like really precise timings. But I don't know. There's just something about it that there's something about it I'm just not quite latching onto as much as I love the concept and love the designs of the monsters and some of the puzzles. I just don't quite have as much excitement to go back in there as much as I do the Sun Palace and the Snowy Peaks. I don't know how to describe it. I do prefer it over all the other stuff in the game, though. It's really cool. The Mystical Workshop is a very fun location. I do quite enjoy it. So, we're getting towards the end here. The next step after the Mystical Workshop is the Abandoned Tower. So if you're still watching, I warned about spoilers. This is very spoiler now. This is the end of the game. So if you don't want any more spoilers, please actually like go ahead and hop off the video. I won't be mad. I understand. Abandoned Tower is really cool. Again, I think this is the game's final difficulty bump. This area is tough. All of the monsters are like level 38 or 36 to 40, depending on how much you've explored. They are not easy fights. You find a lot of the champions that you fought here, though. You get Spectre here, Beetloid, Raduga, Killin, and that's like all 4 of those are champions you fought previously, and they're all tough. They're all not easy. You get Satsune, who when I first saw, I was like, "Are you kidding me? A succubus kitsune. I couldn't. There has to be at least one of these. There has to be at least one of these in a creature collector. I get it. I can't be too mad. But Kitsune is not easy to fight, especially when there's two, because she'll steal your buffs. She'll put a bunch of bleed stacks on you, especially if you're fighting a dark shifted one. Those won't go away. She's not an easy fight. I do like Darnation. Darnation's a cool monster. Its name is very fun to say. What in Darnation? Very cool monster. And Thanatos, Grim Reaper Clown, he hits hard too, and he does not let up. Obviously, the final boss is here. You've got Marduk's champion fight, and then you've got Mad Lord. And to see Mad Lord for the first time is wild. His music is so good. The soundtrack for the area is very fitting, very fitting. I think it's a very good soundtrack, very good song. Not my favorite, but it works. It does what it needs to do. But it is a tough area. One thing I do like is it basically requires you to use all of the different types of exploration abilities. You've got all the different elemental orbs, a bunch of different flight puzzles, and like, you know, dark areas and push blocks and wall breaks, and you need Graphenix at one point, so you gotta come back and get that one chest over there. It's really fun from a puzzle standpoint. I do really like that it does that. I will say, where we're ranking it, I think I'm going to put it at the bottom of B. It's really fun. I really enjoy it. But because of the difficulty of the monsters, and it only has one teleport crystal towards the bottom, it's kind of difficult to navigate through, and you don't really have a reason to go back there if you're not completing the monster journal. So it's cool and all, but it's not my favorite. But I do have a good time with it. Oh boy. Oh boy. My favorite area in the game, Blob Burg. This is a side area. I put it after the Abandoned Tower because I think you can get to it before you go to the Abandoned Tower if you do the Slime Key side quest. But oh, this place is great. It is like Easter egg heaven. The whole area feels very Metroid. It's got like all the like alien ooze and like kind of bubbly airness to it, which Metroid has a lot of. As well as this is where you find all the blobs. All of the blobs are here. Every blob. You've got Blob, you've got Ice Blob, you've got Lava Blob, a new blob that you've not seen yet, I think, except for maybe a Tamer battle, Rainbow Blob, who gives you one of the best explorabilities in the game, which I will let you find out. And then you've got Changeling, who is so cool on its own. Having a Changeling monster is just like genius. Love it. Takes the shape of a bunch of different monsters and stuff. And then it turns you into a literal morph ball. You literally turn into a morph ball from Metroid. You are Samus when you use the Changeling's explorability. It is so cool. And don't even get me started. Actually, we're gonna hold it. I was gonna talk about the soundtrack. We're gonna hold off. King Blob and Worm are both really fun. Worm is not a champion, but King Blob is. He is a tough fight. He's only weak to debuffs, and he hits really hard and heals himself like crazy. But he's really fun. I love his design. His little mouth wiggles when he attacks. And then you have Worm, who again is another Easter egg and a reference to another Team 17 game, Worms. The Worms series of games. They're like the 2D turn-based like artillery fighting. I don't even really know what the genre is. Arena shooters, maybe? I don't know. But you literally have a worm with a bazooka. That's his whole gimmick, is he has a bazooka. He hits the hardest, I think, out of any monster in the game, but he misses a lot. That's his whole gimmick. If he hits you, you're dead. If he misses, you're fine, kind of thing. But now, the soundtrack. Blob Burg has the best song in the entire game, and I will not take no for an answer. This song is so good. The second I heard it, I was in love. I was entranced. Blob Burg's soundtrack is on another level. This area is so fun because you've got this amazing song playing in the background while you're exploring this like plucked from Metroid world with all these little Easter eggs and fun locations and things to explore. And it's really cool because as you play through the areas, it unlocks more areas for you to go see. You go to like one end that you can only go through, there's nowhere else for you to go. You open a chest and all of a sudden this wall is now open, then you can go through that wall, get the chest there, go through another wall, get the chest. It's so fun. It's so cool. The soundtrack is phenomenal. It's going at the top of S tier because it is the best location in the entire game. I'm sorry. That's what's happening. It's the best location in the entire game. Top of S tier. No questions. I love Blob Burg. Do not even get me started again because I will talk forever and ever. Okay. So, next up, this is kind of another sub area. This is, again, major spoilers. This is Eternity's End. It is accessed through a door at the top of the Keeper's Tower that I don't remember the exact way you unlock it. I think you have to basically just like fully beat the game. No, you have to get Keeper Master. That's it. You have to get Keeper Master. And once you get Keeper Master, you get access to this area, which is really cool. This is kind of like a side area, not an Easter eggy kind of area, but it is where you get the rest of the starters. So you actually can get all the starters in the game. So whatever starter you start with, you can get don't get another one, but you get an item from them, I believe, after you beat them. And then the other 3 you get, if you beat them, you do get their eggs. They're like mini champion battles. They're tough. Some of them are very tough. I struggled with the eagle. It was not easy. But it's cool. The music here is fitting. It's very spacey, very vibey, very spacey, very cool. The colors are beautiful. It's a gorgeous area. I really like it. There's not really platforming. There kind of is. If you're not careful, you'll easily fall off and have to respawn. It's really fun. It's a really cool area, but kind of similar to the rest of this Keeper Tower stuff. It's not really an area you're meant to explore. It's just kind of here for its one purpose, and that is to give you the rest of the starters. Which is fine. It's good. So we're going to put it in the middle of C tier, above the other 2 Keeper stuff, just because it's so cool and fun and stuff. Now, we're on the DLC. The Forgotten World was added very recently, I believe June 30th. So as of recording and posting this video, very recently. It is the DLC area. It is very fun. It is very cool. It is very difficult because all the monsters are the new monster level cap of 42. And there's some fun stuff in here. There's some very, very cool stuff in here. It adds a bunch of new monsters, while also some returning faces while you're exploring. You get Fungi back, Crystal Snail is back, Kongamado's back, and Glodra are back. But then you get some cool new stuff. You get Fumagus, you get Rampede, Rathops, Krakaturtle, my favorite monster of the entire game. I love Krakaturtle, and if I'm not mistaken, was also another fan design. Krakaturtle is so good. Love its design. Tarblob's really cool. I don't know how to pronounce this last thing. Amberigna. It's a mosquito based in amber. It's taking the prehistoric mosquito found in a sap, amber sap, and turning it into its own thing where the mosquito uses the amber, basically. I think it's funky looking. I'm not a big fan of it. But then you've got 2 new champions of Dracomir and Terradryle, both really fun to fight, really cool designs. I believe Terradryle was another fan-made design. A lot of fan-made designs in this one, but they're all really well done, really well made. Fumagus, I believe, is an evolution of Fungi, which is super cool. We got a new evolution. You love to see it. And yeah, so with all that being said, its platforming is really fun. It's got a lot of really fun, intricate puzzles that are really cool. The story is really fun, where you follow Bard along to try to find the keeper that's been frozen in ice, and it's a really enjoyable location. I think they've nailed it absolutely, hit it out of the park with the DLC. It took everything that was fun and great about the game and just made more of it. Excuse me. The soundtrack is great. It feels like a Forgotten World. It feels like this like center of the earth hidden environment that's just like been here for years and is its own ecosystem. There's still dinosaurs living down here. You know, it's very, very well done. I love its color scheme, all the mushrooms and the purple and the kind of like magical feel to it. It's really really well done. They absolutely nailed it out of the park. Where I'm gonna rank it though, where do I want to rank the Forgotten World? I think I'm gonna rank it here. I definitely enjoy it more than the dungeon and everything else below the dungeon, but I don't think I enjoy it more than the stuff above the Magma Chamber and above. So I think that's where I'm going to put it. And yeah, that is our tier list for all of the areas and locations in Monster Sanctuary. I really appreciate you guys watching. We're going to go over it real quick. We've got Blob Burg, Snowy Peak, Sun Palace, and S tier. We've got Mystical Workshop, Ancient Woods, Magma Chamber, Forgotten World, and Stronghold Dungeon in A. B tier has Blue Caves, Mountain Path, and Abandoned Tower. C tier is Horizon Beach, Eternity's End, Keeper's Tower, and Keeper's Stronghold. And unfortunately, D tier is the only one in D tier is the Underworld. So hey, let me know what you guys think about the rankings. If you'd mix things up, share with us your tier list if you do end up making one. I'll have it linked below. We'll go ahead and link our Tiermaker account, which is where we're making these tier lists. We'll link the Tier Mania Tiermaker account. That's hard to say. In the description down below. And if you guys enjoyed it, please feel free to check out some of the rest of our videos. We do topics on all kinds of stuff like epic rap battles of history, modern music artists, Star Wars, Persona, DBD, all kinds of various different topics and pop culture stuff. So if you guys enjoyed, please do leave a like, please do subscribe, and until next time, peace out everybody. Catch y'all later.